In this lesson, we'll explain how this case was produced. Let's take a look. Among the paid users of our teaching set, many have very poor technical skills. It might also be the first time you come across FaceD, but there are many friends with a good foundation. So every update, I hope to explain some deeper knowledge. If you're a beginner, it might be a bit challenging. It looks very difficult for you, but it's okay. Once we learn more, we can look back at this and it will be fine. Let's start from here. Subtitles by Sonia. Let's start by analyzing the characteristics of this animation. First, the character. It's neatly made up of small squares. The arrangement of these little cubes is very orderly and not randomly distributed on the surface of the character. The second feature is that it comes with animations that move along with the model. The third point is that it will have these good-looking colors, but they won't flicker. This means that each small square will inherit this color. The fourth point is that when our character is swung to a certain extent, we can see these little cubes scatter. And at this point, the character is still moving. There's quite a bit of knowledge in this shot. I encountered several technical issues while making it, and then, step by step, we pondered and tried and ultimately solved this technical issue. Let's look at it in C4D.
Just this shot. Let's take a look. Play. Ascend to the sky.
Before explaining, we need to install a plugin. Let's take a look. In the tutorial you downloaded, there's a folder. We go into it and right-click this plugin. Copy. Then we select our C4D, whether it's R17 or R18. Either is fine.
Email. Attribute.
Open the folder location. Then we find the parking, double-click to enter, right-click paste. Because we have installed that, if you haven't, just place it inside. Then, by double-clicking the screen, we can open C4D and see that we have successfully installed this plugin. Alright, let's get into this project. Here we find a motion capture character animation. Such animations are obtained from data captured by early motion capture devices. No manual keyframes needed. And for many realistic animations, manual keying is utterly pointless. After getting this animation, let's think about how to do it. First, we create a small block. In the motion graphics, we find the clone object and clone this little cube. Because this little square is very large now, we'll make it a bit smaller. W5. Change it to 10 first. First, let's think about how to make the squares form the shape of our character. Then we enter CD, and inside our clone object, there's a mode called Grid Layout Mode. Now, it's arranged a bit more. By holding down the Alt key and clicking here, then clicking again. We can switch its display mode when we choose the courtesy object. We select the effector in the motion graphics. Miracle Effect Device. Then we find this volume object volumetric effector, which controls many parameters inside our cloned object through a model, regardless of whether it's for clone objects or small volumes of fresh. In the upcoming lessons, we'll go into great detail about these courses, which are designed for those who have a foundation. Now we need to choose a symmetrical volume Here, I create a new sphere. Let's take a look. Press the Alt key and click to display cloned objects. Select the volume effector and give the sphere to it. Now, we press the Alt key and click here, then click again. Now the sphere is invisible. We select the volume decimator in the parameters. Click proportional scaling to make it a bit larger. As we can see, the extreme ear device only affects the small cubes inside the sphere. But there's also a pattern here called visibility. Visible means it only shows the little cubes inside our sphere. Now, let's choose the volume consumer instead of the sphere. And use this character, placing it right here. After dragging it down, it will definitely lack details. Let's not bother with that for now, let's just play it to see. You'll notice these little cubes keep jumping without following our character's movements. This is problematic because the character model is constantly moving. And where this model touches the little cubes, if you hold your little cube, it will show. If it doesn't touch, it will disappear. So these little cubes are dynamically displayed. What we envision is to have these little blocks move along with that kind of model. So now, let's think about how to do that. First, let's turn them off. What if our character isn't made up of little blocks but another model? What do? We convert the current state of this model to an object with a right click. Then press the Alt key. Place the logic here. Now we have only got a character model. We adjust this character model a bit. Inside the modifier, we find here there is a reduce polygons option. What about him?
Fry a plate of noodles.
One side's shadows and shading display is turned on. That's about all the details. Then what we do is right click on him to convert the current state to an object. We've deleted this object. And now we have a model with a very low polygon count. We click on the smooth tags. Change the smoothing angle to 0 degrees. We get a model like a ground body. Let's think about how to make this model move, like the animation we just saw. Simply put, it means we select these bones, we select all the skeletons for this model, and then we click to bind in the character. In the command, we find bind equals binding. But after binding, its weight is definitely problematic. Weight is the degree of influence. There's a problem. We need to reweight. Reweighting is a time-consuming and laborious task. Can we now inherit the movement of our model? In CCD, there's a very important deformer called the mesh deformer. We put the mesh deformer
Just
in our text.
extinguish the body below.
First, we need to tell the internet brother which model to use to drive our animation. I drag it in and then we click to initialize. After initialization, we play it because we discovered it's wrong. It's not what we imagined.
Let's explain it again.
Let's create a new project and see an any.
Thank you. See you next time. Create a new doll. Shrink this character a bit.
Create a new cube.
Then cut this spot.
Segment more changes. Press the C key to cut.
Double click twice.
Then we find the mesh deformer. After we select, press the C key to cut. Turn it into an editable object. Then we hold down the Ctrl key. Click here and then click again. Then unfold all, select the first object and then select the last one while holding the Shift key. Having the chance to meet, connect and delete it, integrate them. And then we place the grid under it. We click Initialize. After initializing, we display this cube. You can see it automatically added a display label. Let it display as a grid, makes it clearer to see. The puppet remains unchanged now. We choose the cube and select any point. We drag and drop, short and squat. You've discovered that the points of the cube can control the puppet, which is grid deformation. It controls our current model through another model. So what we're going to do now is, can we control this ground body model with a model that has animation? Here's what we do. First, we can't just add a mesh deformer directly. At this point, we need a plugin. As for the plugin we just installed, we first need to bake this model with skeleton animation. We found a bake plugin here, so we click on it. Click OK. We're going to bake the model with skeletal animation into a point level animation. After baking, it generates an object and then hides the skinned object. Let's look, this is our baked one. Even without skeletons, it still has animations. Let's show the revised model we found on the grid. We drag the model that has been baked just now and click Initialize. Close it, let's play and see if it can affect our model's playback. First, we need to activate it and play to see. You've noticed there's still a problem. Why? Because the animated model hasn't fully enveloped our current low poly model. Now, expand the grid and in the advanced options, find surface and select the exterior. Click again to initialize, and then when we play again, you'll notice it's fully operational. Here we didn't refresh the weights because it's troublesome. We simply drive our new model with the existing animation. What we are operating now is a low poly model. Let's think about what to do if it's a small cube. Let's hide it. Activate the clone object. Activate the volume effector. This is the little square. We make it smaller, change it to 5. If the squares are too large, they'll seem imprecise. Of course, the squares are quite sparse now. We make them a bit more so.
Give it a try.
38. 40. If it's very laggy now, let's activate the rendering instance.
It will be slightly faster.
After we open the volume effector, we find the parameters of the volume effector and turn off the scaling. That is to say, it is not scaled now. It only removes the small cubes outside the volume. Remember to turn off the render instance now. We choose to clone the object. Right-click to convert the current state into an object. Then, turn off both the polite object and several level digesters, and we end up with a lot of small blocks. We right-click these small cubes. Connect and remove. We still add a grid digester to the clone line. Drag it to break it for him. Click Chef Talk.
Activate. Let's play it again.
Well, now it seems to have started to work a bit, even though it has many imperfections. First, you can see this little square, it's stretched. And it doesn't look good either. And in our case, these little squares are one by one, they are not stretched. Alright, we'll end this class here and continue to identify and solve problems in our next class.